7-point game. Walker gets the steal. Goes in. And she's gone. Bobla in the paint. Mankey, rebound, goal. With the flash.
On this edition of UND Sports Extra, there's a new flock of Hawks ready to join North Dakota football. Head coach Bubba Schweigert is here to break down the details from 2016 signing day. The UND men's basketball team enjoys a historic win as they continue their climb in the Big Sky standings, and the wins continue to come in for Travis Brewster and the UND women's basketball squad. Travis Brewster will join us a little later on. We're going to kick things off, though, talking football. Head coach of the football team, Bubba Schweigert, joining us. Coach, nice to be talking football with you in February.
Well, it sure is, and we're excited about the young men that are going to be joining our team in the fall, and looking forward to developing them and getting them really on the field and seeing what they can do.
What was your approach to this year's, as you were going out trying to get guys committed, signed, and how did it differ from maybe years past here at UND?
Well, this year we really had an opportunity to develop 2-year relationships with prospects and their families, to start recruiting them as high school juniors and get them to camps and really develop a good positive relationship. And then the areas we needed to recruit were on the defensive side. Defensive backs was an emphasis, and offensive side, offensive linemen and tight end was a big emphasis. So we concentrated in those areas and felt really good about who we were able to get to commit, and then we worked on some other areas as well.
If you were to ask people, on a map to color in the states where you think UND is going to hit it hard for players, I think you really established that this year, didn't you? Minnesota had a very strong year of recruits this year, along with Wisconsin, and you got 3 from your in-town state, North Dakota, here. Talk about kind of the method of your footprint there a little bit.
Well, we want to do a very good job within 5 hours of Grand Forks. We want to do a good job in our state. We want to do a very good job in the Twin Cities and Minnesota, and we'll reach into South Dakota and also up in Winnipeg and Canada. But the other areas that are important to us, Wisconsin has had a long tradition here at North Dakota having very good players, and we did well in Wisconsin. And then we got to reach out to some other areas. Denver has been good to us the last 2 years. Indianapolis, you'll see a couple signees from there this year. We get into the Chicago area, and those are the areas we want to focus on. We think the Midwest guys fit in best with how we want to play football and the lifestyle here, and that they're good fits for our program.
When you're building the type of team that you want to build, it starts up front. You're bringing in 6 guys along the offensive line. On the other side of the football, between inside and outside linebackers, you've got 4 of them coming in. Those are key pieces, of course, to your football team. How much of the guys you wanted to bring in was based on the needs of your football squad?
Well, very much based on our needs. And, we're always going to have to recruit a lot of linebackers. Being a 3-4 defense, we want those guys. And really our outside linebackers are a lot of times high school safeties and guys that need to be really athletic. It's no secret that we're a smaller defense, but we really want to run to the football. And in the Big Sky, we need to have outside backers that can cover guys in space. So we're really encouraged by the athleticism that we were able to recruit on that side of the ball.
Yeah, you definitely added players that are going to bring athleticism to your team, some length in some key areas. And when we return with the head coach, we'll break down some of the individuals that are coming in as a part of the 22-member UND signing class for 2016. Stay with us.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. We continue to talk football here on UND Sports Extra. Coach, as we look at some of the individuals that are kind of highlighted in your recruiting class, Alex Cloyd, a 6'4 tight end, comes to mind, a guy that you recruited out of Omaha. He had to fight off some rival schools to keep him committed. What kind of a player can we expect to see out of Alex Cloyd?
Well, we're very excited to have Alex, and if you're going to recruit good players, you're going to have competition in recruiting, and we just think he's a really athletic tight end that can stretch the field. He did a very good job in our summer camp last summer, and had committed to us during the middle of the season, and then we had to battle for him here at the end, but really looking forward to him getting bigger and stronger and becoming a complete tight end. It's no secret here. Our tight ends are going to have to be willing to block and be very good blockers, but we also are excited that he can stretch the field. And very good high school wrestler. He was 41-0 on signing date with 39 pins, so we know he's tough.
Yeah, he also lettered in soccer, too, and that's a characteristic of a lot of the guys that you're bringing in this year. They're multi-sport athletes, including Travis Toivonen, a big wide receiver that's coming in, 6'3". He led Minnesota in receiving yards last year. Is he the great combination of side and speed for you?
Well, he's a big target, and we think big targets out on the edges are really tough to defend. Corners, we're looking for mismatches, and he's a 6'3", 205-pound guy that can really go up and get the ball. He's an excellent basketball player. He's playing in the #1 ranked team in the state, and he's their top player and really a competitor. When we go watch him practice and play in his basketball games, you see a real competitive spirit, and we saw that in our camp as well in the summertime.
And Andre Randolph is an interesting player to me. A cornerback is what he's going to play here at UND, but his senior highlight video full of him as a quarterback. What makes him such a special player at defensive back, even though he clearly excelled at the offensive side of the football as well?
Yeah, he's got a lot of skill, and it tells us something. If his high school coach puts him at quarterback and they run the option, he must think a lot of that young man because he wants the ball in his hands, and we see a lot of skill and a lot of talent, and we know our emphasis was on secondary players, and Andre was willing to commit to being a defensive back. We had some other programs that he had offers from, but we're able to get him here on a visit, and once he came on the visit, he was really convinced that this was a good fit for him, and we're always looking for good fits, but really like his athletic ability, and he will develop into a fine defensive back.
It's a group that no doubt is going to shape UND football for years to come, and those are a couple of the guys anyway that kind of stick out in this 2016 signing day class. The key dates to note: March 4th is when spring football begins. It culminates with the annual spring game on April 16th. Thanks so much for your time, Coach. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're back with more right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. Time to tip things off with Brian Jones, head men's basketball coach, and good to be back talking hoops, and another week of your team kind of taking the next step in the process. Is that how you evaluate this last week's action?
No question. Definitely we took a step forward. Defensively, we really set the tone. And coming off a tough loss at Northern Colorado, I think that's where we showed some maturity, not allowing that to stay with us and coming out and playing really good basketball Thursday and Saturday, which we needed to just to be able to stay in this race. And that's where we're at in this league. It's too late in the season. It's a weekend-by-weekend deal, and you really got to continue to improve, and I think that's what we've seen out of our team.
Your team returned home on Thursday, taking on Idaho State, and in the first half, I know you like to see this. Offense created from your defense.
No question. Great hands there and just making the extra pass, but we did that in both games. I think this group has done that traditionally all season long. They're taking a lot of pride in it, and it's showing.
Gino Crandall in that first highlight, he comes up with another steal and slam here as your team opens up an 8-point lead, and one of the key players in this one, there was a couple of them, Quentin Hooker, one of them, a triple-double on this night, Coach.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen in the college ranks too often, and again, just shows you his unselfishness, his versatility, and again, he let the game come to him.
Yeah, we see him hitting the long three, then with a defensive rebound, ensuing possession, then driving off the screen. He'll miss here, but gets an offensive rebound in the putback, and then we'll see him get an assist here as he gets the steal and the pass ahead to Bernstein, who goes in for the big-time slam. Hooker, 13 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists as your team builds a 22-point lead. The other man of the hour, Adam McDermott. Boy, he wears the right number on his jersey, Coach.
He does, especially for his game. But, yeah, again, what you're seeing, look at the extra passes there. He's getting horse shots, and he's going to knock those down at a high rate. And just the unselfishness of this team, offensively and defensively, is why this group continues to grow.
McDermott, 8 of 14 from beyond the arc, a career-high 28 points for the freshman. His previous high was 17 points as your team goes on to win 76-60, and it wasn't even that close. You led by 25 late, and Drick Bernstein not featured a whole lot there, had 12 points and 14 rebounds for your group, Coach. And one thing that stood out to me in this one, I think you'll appreciate this too, 21 assists on 27 field goals.
Well, that's high efficiency, again, efficient offense on selfish offense, and that's always a key against Idaho State because of the zone defense that they play. You got to make the extra pass. I talk to our guys all the time about hitting singles, not threading needles. And on those clips to Adam right there, you saw they were hitting singles and getting wide open shots.
Yeah, you mentioned your defense has been so key too lately. You held Idaho State to 30% from the floor, also a contributing factor, and that would lead into a great crowd on Saturday afternoon. Weber State. Your impressions of things early on in this one for you?
I thought we got out to a good start. We were very efficient offensively. We had to be because of who Weber is. But, again, getting back to the crowd, it was a great atmosphere, not only for our fans but our student body. The football crew out there was outstanding, and that's important. And that really got our guys going. Obviously, Adam got going in the first half as well. He carried on from the game before. But you're seeing Gino. And he had a big-time game for us.
Those threes by McDermott were a key stretch. That opened things up a little bit for you guys, gave you some breathing room as the lead built to 8. And then Gino Crandall back to work in this one. He was connecting from deep too. Love that individual play there, beating Senglin, a key player for Weber State there. Your team up 10. You led by 8 at the half. In the second half, Drick Bernstein stepping up with a great individual play here, comes up with the steal, the monster slam. Your team still up double digits at this point. And then a key contributor, both ends of the floor and on the offensive side too, Connor Avance, a big game for you, Coach.
He was. He's always Johnny on the spot defensively. He is, man, he's Windex, not necessarily as far as erasing shots, but always in the right place at the right time. And he had great footwork offensively against length. And that's what we're saying. He's a little undersized, but he's got great feet.
Yeah, he knows how to play within himself, even against bigger bodies. This just pure determination here in the second half as your team builds a 13-point lead. Avance good for 12 and 5 on the day. Weber State would get this within 4, but your free throws keep your team up, and then Hooker with the steal, Crandall with the dunk, the exclamation point. Your team knocking off Weber State 78-71 the final. Crandall leading the way with 21 points, Hooker adding 18. Was named Big Sky Player of the Week. And a couple things I take away from this game, Coach, as well, is your team at the free throw line. 21 of 24. You made key free throws down the stretch. And my goodness, only 5 turnovers to Weber State's 14. It was, everything kind of came together, and it needed to.
It needed to. That's the type, to beat a Weber State, that's what you have to do. Another key factor is the backboard. We out-rebounded them, which in game 1 they crushed us on the glass. And Bollenboy, and holding him in check, he had 13 points, 8 rebounds in game 1. He had 20 rebounds. So, again, a team effort. Our guys really responded to the challenge, but it was team. It wasn't individual performance. It was guys collectively as a group. And you saw our bench. It was lively throughout, and our bench was a big factor too. I thought our bench outplayed their bench.
Jeremy Senglin was their key contributor. He had an answer just about every time your team started to pull away. But the work you guys did against Joel Bollenboy, a player who's getting eyes on him from the NBA level, you double-teamed him, made him a non-factor. That was huge, getting your first win.
It was. Just getting him out of his rhythm, because he's such a talented player. You can't allow a player like that just to continually come down at you in his rhythm. So our guys on a one-day prep did a great job of getting prepared.
You're at Eastern Washington and at Idaho this week, 2 games that'll be vital, as those are a couple teams you're battling in the Big Sky standings. Good luck on the road this week, Coach.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, stick around. Coming up next, head women's basketball coach Travis Brewster joins the program.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
We continue our talk of UND basketball with women's head basketball coach Travis Brewster, fresh off a road trip that saw your team extend its winning streak to 6, and your team continuing to find new ways to win, and new players seem to be stepping up every game for you, Coach.
Yeah, it's been good, to see different players step to the forefront, especially underclassmen and upperclassmen. So it's been exciting.
You opened the weekend at Idaho State, a game that the last time your two teams met was a 45-42 grinded out W. As we go to the highlights from Thursday night in Pocatello, this one would be higher scoring, but still just as close throughout, and a tight game in the second quarter. Jill Morton, she's good for this. Seems like once a game with the steal and the lay-in there as your team grabs a 1-point lead. Then later in the quarter, Michaela Dyer really stepped up in this quarter for you.
Well, Michaela, she's got a savvy about her how to get the ball in the hole, and that's one of her trademarks is just being kind of that silent assassin out there.
She would make another drive into the lane for 2 more here in the quarter. Your team trailed 3 at the half in the third quarter. Then Idaho State would start to extend its lead, but your team would answer back with a 9-2 run to get you back in it.
Well, this is a great step-back shot by Leah Zabla. She knocked down, and, we had to stay calm in the game. You can't get out there and get too rattled, and we just moved the basketball pretty well, and people made different shots, and we just kind of kept playing our game, and we came back.
Morton knocking down the long 2 there. Your team up by 2 at that point. Then late in the third quarter, the bank's still open late in Pocatello, Coach.
That's right. When you're a senior, you can withdraw anytime you want, so we'll take it.
Kelsey Knox, she had a good laugh about that one after that. Fourth quarter, your team started to pull away a bit. Zabel with the drive and miss, but Roscoe with the putback. You lead by 8, but Idaho State rallies back to tie with just over a minute to go. Then Maya Lloyd, this her first field goal of the game to give your team a 2-point lead, and Idaho State with a last-second opportunity but missing the 3 at the buzzer.
Again, Maya's a senior and she hits that shot, and everybody's gearing up to stop her, so everybody else has to step up a little bit. But at the same time, when the opportunity's there for Maya, she's got to make the best of those. 60-57 the final. Zabla with leading your way with 12 points to lead your team. Knox added 10. And following this one, I think one key part of this is both teams had 15 turnovers in the game, but your team was able to capitalize with 19 points off of those turnovers versus just 8 for Idaho State. Did you see that as kind of a key capitalizing on those opportunities? That was the big difference in the game. It really was. We were actually scoring off the turnovers and they weren't. And we've been on the other side of that coin, so it's very nice for us to be able to, just make some easy baskets out of there. When you get a steal like Jill Morton had when she got in there, that makes a big difference in the ball game.
Absolutely. That W extended your winning streak to 5. You'd look to make it a 6-game winning streak as your team would head to Weber State then on Saturday. Late in the first quarter of this one, your team gets some much-needed separation. Michaela Dyer draining the 3 as your team took a 6-point lead after the first quarter. In the second, Weber would rally to go up by 5, but your team would answer at the other end. Dyer with the pass inside to Roscoe for the hoop and the foul to tie things up. And Lexi Clabo, a freshman, kind of emerged in this one for you.
It was a good game for Lexi. We've been waiting for this all season, and, she has that ability. She's got that kind of Dirk Nowitzki game where she can score inside and out, and, when she faces hoop, she's pretty handy with the basketball, and this is something we've been working on, and we're happy to see her just grow.
Yeah, there seemed to be a confidence that has grown within her as she had a career-high 13 points and 8 rebounds. And Maya Lloyd, we mentioned just 1 field goal at Idaho State. She looked like her old self on Saturday.
Well, again, Maya's taking what they're giving her.
Sure.
And I really think for Maya in this particular game, the big thing was they decided to guard her one-on-one. Most of the time all year, Maya's either been double-teamed or triple-teamed. So now the one-on-one matchup, it gives her a little bit more opportunity. You can see that when she's one-on-one, she's pretty deadly. Good take there by Leah.
Yeah, Weber State taking a 2-point lead with a minute to go, but Zabel with the drive and tough lane to tie it at 70. This one goes to overtime, and your team really took over in the overtime session, making their shots where Weber State did not.
Yeah, we were running on some fumes, and we just said, hey, you got to figure out a way to get it done, ladies, and you know what? You'll be able to rest on the way on the bus trip home. So they take advantage of another good move there by Lexi.
Label with the tough shot in the paint there as your team grabbed a 7-point lead in the extra session. You go on to win 85-78. Lloyd with a game-high 22 points and 14 rebounds as she adds another double-double to her career totals. Your team owned the boards in this one, Coach, 54-29. And at the free throw line, 26 of 37. That's a lot of getting to the free throw line and getting those shots.
Well, that's been part of our MO, obviously, over the years. We got to get back to doing that consistently. And, being able to knock down free throws is great, and owning the boards is kind of a fun thing. But it's that time of the year we got to start putting some things together.
Absolutely. So your team's winning streak now to a half dozen at 6. How have you seen this team evolve and grow over this 6-game winning streak, Coach?
Well, the big thing is we're starting to be comfortable with our identity. And sometimes those games are ugly, and they're starting to understand those are type of fun games for us. Not for other people, for us it is. And they're really starting to play together. The other part is you're really seeing some selfless type of actions out there where they're taking charges, setting screens, whether it's a pass. And so, we've talked about that all year long, and now they're starting to see the fruit of their work.
Things definitely changed for you this week. You return home against Eastern Washington and Idaho, number 2 and 3 in the Big Sky. As you look to continue that climb, the challenge really tightens up this week, doesn't it?
Well, it's steep with Eastern Washington. They're leading the league. They've lost one time all season. Then you got Idaho. Idaho just stomped us. That's the best way I can put it. They took care of business when we went out there, and we have to worry about Eastern Washington first. There's no getting around it. They're a team that can put it in the hole. They apply a little bit of pressure. So we'll see what happens.
We'll have Thursday's game for you against Eastern Washington right here on Midco Sports Network. Good luck this week, Coach. We'll recap your games next week here on the program.
Thanks.
All right, we're back with more right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
It was number 8 versus number 3 last weekend in the Twin Cities as the UND women's hockey team traveled to the University of Minnesota for a pair against the Golden Gophers. On Friday, Minnesota gets the win 3-0, despite great effort from Shelby Amsley-Benzie, who had 29 saves in the losing effort. Then on Saturday, UND gets 2 points back. The game ends in a scoreless draw, but UND wins the shootout 2-1. Amsley-Benzie with 25 saves. She made 9 consecutive saves during the shootout that went 11 rounds. Charlie Dahlquist scored the game winner in the shootout for UND, who salvages 2 points on the weekend. We've got women's Big Sky basketball on Thursday night right here on Midco Sports Network. Eastern Washington against North Dakota. Tip-off at 7 o'clock from the Betty. We hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching UND Sports Extra.